Jared Leto, in case you were unaware, Jared Leto is allegedly a cult leader. And these allegations came about because of a summer camp that he holds for adults called Camp Mars. It's also been called the Church of Mars. And it's for super fans of 30 Seconds to Mars who call themselves the Echelon. That's actually the name of the fandom, the Echelon.
Sounds incredible.
And this is a summer camp that started back in 2015. It was based in Malibu. It started out just roasting marshmallows, telling stories, free concerts, that type of thing. It was expensive, but of course it was for super fans. But in 2019, Jared Leto decided to take this camp international, and they held it in Croatia that year before COVID. And here you can see all of the pictures that came from that event. A bunch of women, basically, dressed in white on a beach, I guess, gathered around Jared Leto looking suspiciously cult-like.
Jim Jones.
And if you look into the crowd,
guys, we know how these end.
If you look into the crowd in this picture, it's literally all women. Literally all women. And it's giving Jim Jones vibes.
We all see the deliberate attempt to look like Jesus, right?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, you can't deny it. You can't deny it. So I read a blog post from someone who claimed they went to Camp Mars before it became a cult. And they said, long story short, no, Camp Mars really isn't a cult. Personally, I think Jared Leto thinks it's a cult or wants it to be, and no one has ever really told him no. And that's what I think. I think Jared Leto is the kind of guy who wishes that he could be a cult leader, but he's just not cool enough. He's just not influential enough. He can't really make it happen, but he's trying his darndest.
We talked about Laurel Canyon a few months back on this show with Ian Carroll and Shane Cashman, which he owns. I forget the controversy there, but it's like
He
a weird
owns Laurel Canyon. He owns a place in Laurel Canyon.
Right. Well, there's a building I thought called Laurel Canyon, like
Laurel
a
Canyon's a
specific
canyon.
building.
Okay, I have a 20
more
from
cults
Francisco
in a
Sanchez
neighborhood.
Jr. I'm not going to read the first part because it's a little explicit. This is my show, go, go, go. This is my show, Lana Del Rey singing about Kamala Harris, probably. I completely agree.
Did you want to write summaries for the pod? That was pretty good.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that was the AI summary for us.
Was it? It sounds like it was.
For yesterday's episode. So Jared Leto's alleged cult, this notion of Jared Leto running a cult stems from his leadership of a 3-day retreat on a private island in 2019. This was in Croatia. During this event, attendees were encouraged to get matching tattoos, and Jared Leto himself dressed in all-white attire. It was dubbed Mars Island, a creative getaway for his band and their closest collaborators. But then they gave the debunking note here. While the retreat may have seemed unusual or intense to some, there is no conclusive evidence to support the claim that Jared Leto is running a cult. The event was like a creative bonding experience for the band and their close collaborators, rather than a religious or ideological indoctrination.
Yeah, that's why Manson had all those people hanging out at the Beach Boys' house.
Right.
Yeah, it was just
collaboration.
Creative collaboration, just doing some drugs and writing music, man.
Obviously.
I like to imagine that Jared Leto must be so upset with Elon Musk right now because Elon Musk is like not making people wear. He's not instituting dress codes where you have to wear all white, right? He's actually going to go to Mars.
Wait, who says Elon is a cult leader?
No, just the fact like it's called Mars Island.
Right.
He wants to be the leader.
Elon
of this tribe of people, right?
his
Elon's
brand.
like, well, like if we go to Mars, which we probably will, well, someone's gonna have to be the president of Mars. How about me?
I will say, I don't think Jared Leto has it in him to be a like real cult leader. I think this is just a bunch of women who think he's hot.
But the funny
and
thing
think
is,
they might get to sleep with him.
like they tweeted out all of these pictures from the retreat where all of these women were gathered around him wearing white on the beach, and they captioned it, "Yes, this is a cult." So I'm just going to take them at their word.
I didn't know Jared Leto was this popular.
To be fair, I
didn't either.
I have been talking about this ranch in Wyoming idea like on our show, and people have said it's a cult, and I have been joking about it being a cult, even though it very deliberately will not be.
Are you a potential cult leader?
Apparently.
Do you have what it takes?
No.
So okay, but
I'm so disorganized.
where do cults begin and where do they end, right? Because New York City, New Yorkers have a very distinct identity. They behave a certain way, they speak a certain way.
I had someone once tell me that the Catholic Church is a cult.
I've
and I'm
heard
like,
that too. So where does it start?
I'm sorry,
and where does it end?
I don't think you can run a cult that has like over 1 billion members.
It's just that.
I don't
Well,
really
I've
buy
heard
that.
people say it's the
Yeah.
most successful cult that ever has existed.
It's pretty subjective. If you go by the actual academic definition of what a cult is, all religions are cults.
Basically.
A cult just means a group of people who devote themselves to an individual. That can be a deity, that can be a human, it can even sometimes be a concept. If you look at something like Buddhism, all of those are technically the cult of something.
But if we go by the definition, it's a very specific sociological
Today, yes.
phenomenon, especially in the modern era, and it implies that it's based on a false idol or a false idea. This says a cult is a religious sect or religion generally considered to be extremist or false, with its followers often living in an unconventional manner under the guidance of an authoritarian, charismatic leader.
Yeah, what you see a lot of with cults specifically is very intense and like coordinated cognitive dissonance. So it's, you know, there's, I'm sure that some people would call Christians victims of cognitive dissonance. I disagree because I just do. But there's they will deliberately force your mind to break. And that's what I think modern cults tend to be.
Isn't that what the military does?
You don't buy that?
The military breaks you down.
I just didn't think about
They
it.
want to reshape you in their image.
They let you out though.
Okay, fair.
Well,
Like
it
cults
says
don't.
Fair.
30 Seconds to Mars has been using the tagline, "Yes, this is a cult," for years now on social
okay,
media, in merch, in music videos. In 2013, Jared Leto told the New York Times that it was a joke, a response to journalists saying you have a cult following. This is the first time, though, that the band has taken the reference to its most literal conclusion, even though they've been holding summer camps for a while now.
It's a marketing. Maybe it's like an elaborate marketing thing.
It is.
I mean, I
all money.
I lead like little camping trips to national parks now. That's a thing that I do. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, did it start like that?
It's a cult.
Is that a cult?
Yeah, it's a
okay.
cult.
All right.
Just
Well,
so
that's
you know.
that was my question. Like, when does it stop being a fan base or a hobby that many people share, and it start being a cult?
I think when people are willing to die
Yeah.
for it.
And I think there has to be some deliberate.
I mean,
like,
then
leadership.
religion, by that definition, then religions are cults.
Yeah,
Well, really,
it is.
they
Well,
are.
Do you
they're
guys
based on the definition of what
remember
it is. Yeah.
Cut for Bieber? Do you remember
No.
that?
Yes, I
Oh
do.
my
I do
You
actually
remember that?
remember that.
I was part of this. Part of some of those.
You were cutting for Bieber?
I'm going to consider
You
them
were-
operations.
Okay, we are not endorsing cutting for Bieber or
No.
for anyone or
No, no,
any
no.
music.
So messed up, dude.
That is okay.
It wasn't necessarily that operation, but I'm saying there were many
Yeah.
operations that went on. And notably, one of my personal favorites was putting your iPhone inside of the microwave and turn the microwave on. But if you fell for that one, man,
That's just stupid.
I can't help you.
Yeah,
like-
sorry.
Well, listen, you don't
but-
need to join a cult now because now we have TikTok trends.
right.
But I think the leadership, the coordination, the deliberate nature of it is, I think, probably one of the what I would say is a core factor.
Okay.
Like Heaven's Gate, you know,
Right.
like those people were following
They
the
were-
aliens. Technically,
They were about it. They really.
Which cults have you covered on your channel?
believers.
I know I've covered the Manson family, which I got one thing wrong in that has haunted me to this day, but it wasn't actually connected to Manson. It was connected to me thinking that somebody was actually a different doctor. Like, I'm mad about it, but it's not a big deal. We've covered Manson, we've covered Heaven's Gate, and
David
I think,
Koresh,
and we've covered the Bohemian Grove, the Illuminati, and Freemasonry.
We have
Not-
another
not-
20 from Buzzard.
We have not gotten to Waco yet because when we were going to do it, Wendigoon did it, so we didn't do it.
Buzzard said, "Cognitive dissonance indeed. I'm lucky all I had to do was go to a weird school. My sister barely got out of the Sea Org alive.
Sea Org is their like Navy where you
Okay.
sign on for a 1 billion year term.
I prefer the cult of Buddhists since they aspire to chill the F out." I don't know much about Buddhism or if that's true.
I don't think I've
but
ever met an actual
I'm glad that you aren't
Buddhist.
in Scientology anymore.
I have. I've been to Buddhist temples, but I've never, like, I guess so, yeah, then I have, but I've never met, like, a peer of mine who was, like, a practicing Buddhist.
That's because most white people who practice Buddhism are not practicing
Well, they're just kind of
Buddhism.
being edgelords.
Yeah.
I met one kid when I was a teenager who claimed he was a Buddhist. I asked him like one question about like what are the teachings of
Yeah,
Buddhism.
what are
He
the
had
8
nothing.
values?
He had nothing.
Yeah, if you don't know those,
define
you're not
nirvana.
Buddhist.
And
Right,
also,
right,
like,
right.
I consider myself to be one of the more curious people who looks into this type of thing as it relates to Hollywood. And I was unaware of Hugh Jackman's cult affiliations.
Hugh Jackman.
Hugh Jackman is allegedly also in a cult, not Scientology, not Jared Leto's thing, but something else. called the School of Philosophy and Economic Science, or SCES for short. I found this out from a viral tweet saying Hugh Jackman is in a weird cult and is besties with Rupert Murdoch, and everyone just ignores this. They say he had an ex-wife sign a massive NDA in exchange for quite a bit of money after they split. And then when Rupert Murdoch's newspapers were convicted of hacking celebrity cell phones illegally, Hugh Jackman, made a statement about how hard this was for Rupert Murdoch. Not a word, mind you, about the multiple victims who had their nudes stolen or private S lifted to sell tabloid rags. And Hugh Jackman is the godfather of 2 Murdoch's children. He promoted SCES in an Oprah interview in 2006 and stated his son attends one of their schools. SCES portrays itself as a philosophical thought project with no real monetary cost to join, but has branches with different names in like 20 countries. A female ex-member described it as being homophobic, classist, ableist, and misogynist with conservative values. Zero tolerance of homosexuality, disabled people, poor people, did something to deserve their situation. There's also online forums full of people who survived SCES schools, chock full of abuse stories. And the reportings go much deeper than that.
Yeah.
But as far as I can tell, Hugh Jackman is the only Hollywood personality who has been affiliated with this. Aside from that, in public figures at least, it's just politicians.
Yeah, did he say how he got involved?
I don't think he did. I went back to read through this Oprah interview. So Oprah mentioned this affiliation to him in 2006. Oprah said, "I read that you've been studying at the School of Practical Philosophy since 1991. Hugh Jackman said, yes, the school began in London in 1938 with a group of men and women who saw the world heading for disaster, World War II. They were asking, how do we share this planet? What is natural law for humans? Capitalism is a wonderful idea, but it isn't a cure-all. So this non-denominational group of people wanted to get together, find the truth, and then apply it. Now the school is all over the world." And Oprah said, "I want to go." Hugh Jackman says the school accepts everyone. There's even a school for children. Our son Oscar attends. And Oprah said, "I'm constantly reading, trying to figure out how the world works. I've been a student of spirituality and metaphysics. I always thought it would be fascinating to raise a child to understand the principles of divine order. That is a reason to have children." Hugh said, "I totally agree. The main thing Oscar, his son, learns is how to be of service to others. At lunch, the kids all serve one another before they eat."
Okay, just really quickly, though, that one Oprah quote, "I'm constantly reading, trying to figure out how the world works. I've been a student of spirituality and metaphysics. I always thought it would be fascinating to raise a child to understand the principles of divine order." That is just most religions.
Right, but also I read something in the chat as well to quickly critique the idea that most religions are cults. The difference between a cult and a religion is a cult doesn't let you leave. A cult makes you alienated from your family. Catholicism, and I'm a Protestant saying this, you guys don't make you alienate from your family. You're free to leave Catholicism. Like, they don't have these crazy like rules and stuff
There's
like
no
that.
shunning.
My
There's no
great aunt died
shunning
recently,
and
and it
that
was
stuff.
half Protestant, half Catholic funeral.
Thanks for watching. Listen to full episodes of Pop Culture Crisis on Spotify.
Keep up with us on social media and make sure you subscribe and ring that bell so you never miss the show. Bye, guys.